Alright, you guys, so as promised, um, here's my review of the Queen biopic Bohemian Rhapsody. Now, guys, first things first, just as a Qu- Queen casual fan myself, first and foremost, I, I, I do have to say that this movie is actually very well done, but just just as a disclaimer here, it the the movie does not end with Freddy succumbing to his illness uh from AIDS. It ends with the entire recreation of the band's truly finest gig, and actually one of the last major public appearance that Queen performed live with Freddie at Live Aid 1985. But basically, guys, the the movie starts off obviously in London, 1970, where uh Brian May and Roger Taylor are still struggling to get their original band Smile off the ground, and their original lead singer Tim it is a it, it, it is basically fed up with the lack of progress that the band's been able to make, and Freddie being a recent boarding school dropout, and in the eyes of his dad, a flat out failure. But basically says to Brian and Roger, "Hey, look, I I've been following you guys around for quite a few months. You're good, but it appears like you like you need a new singer, and I can make sure that that you become something way bigger than what you're used to right now." So after Brian and Roger talk it over for a very brief period, Freddie ultimately becomes the new lead singer of Smile, and what with the addition of their bass player John Deacon, obviously Queen is born, and basically, guys, that that as soon as uh, Queen gets together, guys, it's obvious that Freddie's added element of showmanship, basically, uh, causes an immediate interest in the band, and ultimately, it the uh what one of their most familiar songs, it's either Killer Queen or Don't Stop Me Now. Forgive me, guys, but that is the the song that gets the attention uh, uh, of a person in the industry, Jim, who ultimately becomes the band's first manager, and ultimately signs them to their record label. And basically, right from there, guys, Queen becomes sort of a instant hit around London, but it but it's obviously the title of the movie, Bohemian Rhapsody, which is uh, obviously, but besides we Will Rock You and We Are the Champions, in addition to classics like I Want to Break Free, Days of Our Lives, um, which joined Bohemian Rhapsody as some of Queen's most classic songs. But guys, in the movie, but Bohemian Rhapsody actually played a very critical part in the band's success, because the 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 the, the producer of Night at the Opera basically thought, but 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 Bohemian Rhapsody was basically a piece of shit, to be honest, and he flat out told Freddie, along with Brian, Roger, and John, that 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 either "I'm Your Best Friend" was gonna be the single off of Night at the Opera, or or he would see to it that Queen was dropped from their label, and that Night at the Opera rather, excuse me, would basically be shelved. But it but it but it was actually thanks to Freddie's perseverance and ultimate musical genius, along with their long-standing manager Jim, which ultimately allowed Bohemian Rhapsody to become the number one hit and monster phenomenon that it was. And guys, the movie actually does a very good job of uh, of showcasing how Queen at its core in those early years, of obviously, first starting out, play, play, playing the smaller clubs, and then once can't, don't stop me now, and especially Bohemian Rhapsody came out. Obviously, Queen was finally able to break through of America, as well as secure their first ever USA tour. However, guys, in in the opening part of the movie, basically, the 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 reason why Freddie decides to even join Brian Roger in Smile, even before they formed Queen, is because just as a sign of many singers of Freddie's time, just as a sign of rebellion from especially his father, who basically said that Freddie never had any good thoughts, never had any good deeds, and was basically a failure in his father's eyes, because, guys, as is already well documented, not necessarily in this movie, but just in other documentaries about Queen. Freddie Mercury's actual real name, it was Farouk, and he actually immigrated to London in his later teen years. But anyway, guys, once Night at the Opera is released, and Queen starts to gain even more traction because of Bohemian Rhapsody. It's actually very interesting to see how well the cast of Bohemian Rhapsody recreates the actual band tension that went on mostly between Freddie, Brian, and Roger, their drummer. In fact, at one point, Roger and Freddie basically get into this argument that that in my car's basically not good enough, and that Roger literally almost hits Freddie in the head with a coffee pot, and Freddie says, "Now, darling, there's only room enough for one crazy queen in this band," and ultimately, guys, it also shows Brian's importance to the band, because it's actually Brian who 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 came up with the classic opening to we will rock you, at, as well as many other parts of Queen's classic songs. And for his part, John Deacon's role in this movie is pretty much sufficient to what his interaction in the band is nowadays, which basically means that aside from a point in the movie, which I'll get to in a second, John is just basically really there to play bass. Now, as far as the movie tackling Freddie's sexuality, guys, it touches on that some with him having a sort of his first crush on Jim, which he fondly refers to throughout most of the movie as Miami. But the primary relationship that the movie does focus on is Freddie's long time and prominent mistress in his life, Mary Austin, and that how throughout all the years of Queen's career and throughout most of Freddie's life, how inseparable Freddie and Mary truly were. In fact, guys, this is a fact from the movie that I didn't even know about. It turns out that "Love of My Life" was actually written for Mary, but basically, guys, after Queen's first couple of releases, then the movie obviously cuts to Freddie not so much being the party animal that he is also legendary remembered for, but more so sort of just the overinflated superstar of the band, and just the fact that, oh yes, he he's more interested in what he can offer to the band as to what all four of them can offer as a collective unit. In fact, this is a really critical part in the movie where Freddie where Freddie is basically furious at Jim for basically suggesting that Freddie and the band dress up in this sort of drag outfits for their music video for I Want to Break Free, and because of the sexual nature of that video, it was actually unfortunately banned in the U.S., which ultimately made Frey come to the decision to to ultimately sign with CBS to produce 2 solo records, not only out of frustration for what Jim did to him, but ultimately out of boredom for what Queen had become. Because to quote exactly what is said in the movie, Freddie goes, "I'm tired of being on this carousel of album tour, and then Brian says, "Hey Fred, we're a band, that's what we do, and we're also a family." And then Freddie says, No, we're not. You all have families, you all have kids, you all have wives or girlfriends, and I don't." But and then Freddie then reveals to the group that he has signed the new record deal worth $4 million to produce 2 back-to-back solo albums, and that's what obviously led to Queen's hiatus up until the legendary performance at Live Aid, and also throughout this time, guys, Freddie does start to experience the beginning symptoms of his fate of his of 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 HIV, which obviously begins with a cough and a little hint of blood. Although I reiterate, guys, Freddie's AIDS, except for a few references in the movie, is not really touched on at all. Now, once Queen goes on their sabbatical and Freddie attempts to release these 2 back-to-back solo releases, that's when his relationship with Mary Austin kind of takes a nosedive. Prior to all of this, guys, Freddie had actually given Mary not necessarily an engagement ring, but a ring just out of a sign of love, and he made a promise to never take the ring off, and once Freddie becomes basically controlled by this photographer named Peter and infatuated with some of his gay friends that attend his legendary house parties. Mary, as well as Jim, makes multiple attempts to contact him. Jim to contact him about possibly reuniting Queen for Live Aid. And Mary, as we learn, is trying to call Freddie to let him know that she has become pregnant by another man, in the form of her new boyfriend David, and when Mary finally goes over to Freddie's new house to see him, and to basically tell him that she's been trying to call him for who knows how long, and the fact that she's pregnant, Freddie basically says, "How could you?" And then Mary says, this had nothing to do with me, Freddie. It had everything to do with you. You've been so consumed by work, that really that you don't have anybody except for your money and your music. You still are, and in my eyes right now will always be that kid that is always alone, and uh, and then after Mary returns home, um, Peter basically tries to 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 regain his spell over Freddy by trying to make him come back inside the house to 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 to, to basically start another drunken party, and then Freddy basically tells Peter to basically excuse my French for younger viewers, but to fuck off, and that he never wants to see him again. And yeah, guys, that's what ultimately leads to uh Queen's ultimate revival and return to the stage for Live Aid of 1985. And the last thing I'll touch on here, guys, is Freddie obviously uh, only told a select few people that he did in fact have AIDS, and the scene where he tells Brian, Roger, and John, it, it's actually very powerful because this is right after the bands had their first meeting about reuniting for Live Aid, and then Brian offers his condolences to Freddie, and then Freddie's like, no, darling, I need you guys to promise me something. A, you won't tell anybody about what I've told you for now, and as people that are familiar with Freddie's battle with AIDS go, he only made his diagnosis public one day before he actually succumbed to his illness in 1991. But anyway, he makes them promise to keep it private for now, and not 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 to waste any precious time that they may have left feeling sorry for Freddie, and and basically that they all share a group hug, and Roger calls Freddie an angel, and 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 all three other members tell him that I think you finally have remembered what it means to to not only be a member of a band, but also you've relearned how to be a member of the family. And the and the last section of the movie, guys, but before it gets to the band's legendary performance at Live Aid, Mary and Freddie actually do manage to sort of repair their friendship, and it appears as though Mary, David, and Jim all have a mutual love and respect for each other, and even though it's not stated, Freddie finally even worked up the courage to basically hint to his parents that yes, their baby boy is gay, and his dad, being the hard Indian Muslim man who really again did not even want Freddie to engage in music anyway, because he dropped out of school. Even he doesn't anything about Freddie's sexuality, but his mom just says, "Oh, it's nice to have a friend," and and uh, and yeah, guys, the movie ends basically with the entire world, including the producer, that called Bohemian Rhapsody a good for nothing piece of music. That everybody throughout the entire world is listening to Queen's legendary performance at Live Aid. And yeah, guys, that's basically how the movie ends. Now, guys, just in terms of any inaccuracies that that the movie may have had, yes, I can pick up on quite a few, but just in the overall presentation of our the 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 the, the story of Freddie and Queen was finally able to be presented in this movie. I think it's truly one of the best honest portrayals of not necessarily Freddie's story, because again, that there are certain details about his life and his legendary drug use and sexuality and battles with AIDS that the movie does touch on, but doesn't go full throttle into. So I guess for Queen fans uh, that wanted a bit more of that, unfortunately, you're only going to get smaller doses of it throughout the entire 2 hours and 14 minutes of the movie. Another thing, guys, is um, my 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 only other real thing that I wish the movie would have done a bit more is maybe not necessarily showed Freddy's death scene in the movie, but but maybe gone up to the tribute concert that that was held for him in '92, just as a real sweet way to wrap up the movie, instead of just that last iconic major TV live performance that the band was able to do at Live Aid. Although, because that was one of their actual last performances with Freddie, and I do believe that was the right time. That was the right part of Queen's story to leave off on, because, guys, as we all know, aside from what one more tour that lasted through 86 to 89, Live Aid truly was the pinnacle of Queen's success. It was the catalyst of a very unfortunately short-lived return of possibly one of the greatest bands, and possibly the return of possibly what many call the greatest frontman to ever grace the stage. So yes, guys, if it so today you have to dissecting the movie for you this past half hour to give my final verdict on Bohemian Rhapsody. It is not the level of an in-depth look at a band's history that Molly Through the Dirt is going to be. In fact, I would almost say it's sort of treated with a little bit of kid gloves, even though even though there is one point where Freddie and Jim Duke is at, at, at and where Mary and Freddie have sex. It it it's not your typical down and dirty biopic movie, but what it does do is not only give a great portrayal of Freddie's journey as the lead singer of Queen, but it also does what I think is even more important. It finally gives an accurate movie portrayal of Queen's just overall historic journey as a band. Like basically from from being a bunch of kids that Roger wanted to be a dentist, Brian wanted to be, and still ultimately became a, a doctor of astrophysics. Freddie, the 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 uh, the immigrant of black sheep of the family boarding school dropout, and John Deacon, the uh, uh, electrical engineer. How how they how they basically went from from being four misfits to easily becoming one of the most recognizable bands in history, and producing two uh, of the world's most iconic rock anthems ever, those being We Will Rock You and We Are the Champions. And guys, I would seriously give this movie a, 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 a 10 out of 10. Now some people, because it doesn't go into certain details of Freddie's life, would probably question that grade a little bit, guys. But but if you want a true, mostly accurate portrayal of Queen's story as a whole, Bohemian Rhapsody, I believe, truly has something for everybody. And 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 as Freddie would say, that this movie was amazing as always, darling. And thank you to Brian, Roger, John, but most of all, thank you to the legend himself, the late Freddie Mercury, for truly leaving us with 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 not only a music catalog that 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 still to this day is kept alive, but but by, by your old brothers in arms, Freddie, but is still kept alive by the generations of fans that you left behind. And guys, I guess the final thing I'll close off this video by saying is, I think Freddie's portion of the story is it's not really that classic rags to riches story, although it kind of is, because Freddie and his family did immigrate to London, but it's more of a tale of it. If you truly believe in something, always, and I mean always, do what Freddie and Queen did. Never compromise, and and if you have the passion and belief in in something that you create, if you have the belief that it can make it, do absolutely everything you can to ensure that you succeed. And always, and I mean always, guys, strive for perfection and and excellence, but I do believe Freddy's story, it is also a cautionary tale uh, 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 of always remembering that sometimes it it it, it takes more than one part. It takes more than one person to make something that's a success, and that sometimes don't lose sight of what's really important. Or in another way, people, uh, always remember what's truly important, and if you have mistakes in your life, even if your time to fix them is short, like Freddy's unfortunately was, as long as you have the second chance to make everything right, take it by the horns, and truly leave a legacy behind for other people to remember that they can do better by you, and I think Freddy's ultimate message that has stayed with us, uh, even after 31 30 years of him being dead, is always believe in what you're doing is right, and don't lose sight of the people and the things in life that truly make you happy, and and to quote Freddie even more, don't be the great pretender all the time, people. Just always try and be yourself, and at the end of the day, you too will be a champion of the world, and always ensure that you always will eventually find a way, even if you lose your way in life for a time, like Queen and Freddie did. Always make sure that if you have the chance to make it right, you'll do everything you can to break free again.